Hello, this is Angela Anderson. Thanks for joining me for this acrylic painting tutorial. In this video, I'm going to be showing you how to paint a romantic couple in silhouette. We're going to be doing a nice soft background, so I'll show you how to do that blendy style background. I've got my husband Mark with me.
Good evening.
He's been in chat for, you threw me off there. He's been in chat for our live show, so if you've got questions, you can ask those, and I will try to answer them. Let's get started. He's pretty proud of himself for throwing me off there.
Oh, yeah. But you recovered better than I thought.
Okay, good. All right, so here's our reference photo. I really like the colors. I liked the, I don't know, I just like the silhouette, and I'll show you kind of how to do this kind of see-through-ish type thing with her dress back here. But this part will be very simple. I'm not going to show you how to draw it today. I'm just going to show you how to trace the traceable. So if you've ever wondered how to trace a traceable, I'll be showing that tonight. And we're going to just trace it on, and I'll show you how to kind of add some of these little highlight effects to the silhouette, as well as do the background. So I've got an archival watercolor canvas board from Fredrix. This is an 8x8 inch square canvas that we'll be using tonight. This is good for any water media. It doesn't have to be watercolor because we're going to be using acrylics, obviously, but it works great for that as well. You can use any size you want, or if you wanted to use a larger canvas, you can, whatever works for you. Let's go. Yay to Fredrix for our sponsors. Yes, our canvas sponsor. We're going to be working with them again this year, so we're really excited about that. They're awesome. And Princeton is our brush sponsor. We're going to have just a few brushes tonight, so not too many. We've got a number 12 bright, a number 2 round, and a number 2 aught round for some of the smaller details. This will be for the background, and then a 1/4 inch angle shader for some of the larger details on the dress and silhouette area. This is the green handles are the 6100 series. This is the VelvetTouch line, and all of the brushes and materials have links down in the description to buy them on Amazon and thebrushguides.com if you are interested. Let's go, and thank you to Princeton as well. All right, let's go over our colors. Very simple palette tonight. Quinacridone Magenta, Cadmium Red Medium, Phthalo Blue Green Shade, Carbon Black, and I've got a liquid Carbon Black just to make it a little bit easier to go on. Zinc White and Titanium White. Zinc White is just a transparent white. If you don't have it, you can just use the Titanium White, and that's fine. If you don't have these exact colors, you can substitute whatever you do have, but I'm going to show you how to kind of mix some of these to make, you can really use these 3 colors to make just about everything that you need for the most part. So just this kind of limited palette. All right, let's go with a large number 12 bright for our background here. And I'm just going to spray my canvas one time here with a little bit of water. That will just get it kind of moistened up. Smooth that around. And this is actually a really smooth canvas, so that'll make our smooth background go on a little bit easier. If you're using a very textured canvas, it can make it a little bit more difficult to get the smoother blended look. But you can still kind of do it, but you may have to do a couple of coats. So just know that going in. I'm going to grab just a little tiny bit of Phthalo Blue. I started with the white because starting with blue and then trying to add white, you're just going to end up adding a whole thing of white. So I'm not using that much paint here. We've got a small canvas. You don't have to put out a huge amount of paint for this. That'll be good. I'm just going to start in this upper corner here. Start working my paint in. I'm going to get water every now and then to keep this edge moist, and you can see how I'm kind of keeping it soft and blended this way so that when I put my next color on there, I won't have a solid line to have to deal with. I'm going to get a little bit more of the Phthalo Blue, maybe tiny touch of the Quinacridone Magenta. That'll make it closer to like an Ultramarine Blue that has a little bit more purple tones to it. And I'm literally getting just the tiniest little bit of that. I don't want it to be really, really dark, but you can see how it kind of just changed the tone just a little bit there. And just kind of blending these together. Let's grab a little bit of white. Down here, I'm going to just, where they're transitioning, I'm going to kind of add a little bit more white. before we go to the next color. It's really not wanting to create a green necessarily over here where the yellow and the blue are mixing. So I'm going to go with a little bit darker now down here at the bottom. A little bit of our carbon black. And do kind of a gray down here. And I'm just kind of trying to go back and forth very gently to kind of get those to blend together a little bit. There we go. I don't have a lot of paint on my brush. I kind of lay the paint down thick where I want it to be darkest, and then just use what's left on my brush to kind of feather it out and blend it out. I can grab a little bit more of that phthalo blue. Maybe a tiny bit of yellow. Do a little bit more of a teal colored blue. Tiny bit of yellow. If you do too much, it's going to turn green, so I don't want it to be green. I just want it to be a little bit teal. I'm just going to feather that in right there.
That's looking pretty cool.
Thanks. All right, let's grab the white. A little bit of that gray color. So I'm going to transition between this color and this color. Right here, there's a little bit of white right there. And this is working really well because it's staying wet for me using these heavy body acrylics. They stay wet a little bit longer than craft acrylics. So if you're using craft acrylics, you may have to just let your previous layers dry and then come back and do this. You can still do this kind of thing. You just have to maybe do it in more layers. So now we have the nice soft blended look. I think I'm going to darken this up, but I might just let it dry first. I'm going to clean my brush out really well. Work on bringing that yellow into the blue. How's everybody doing tonight?
I think they're doing well.
Good.
How are you doing?
Great. Very
That's
good. I forgot what day it was yesterday, so I thought today was going to be Wednesday. I completely skipped Tuesday. So I was like getting ready. I've got a friend coming over to the house Wednesday, so I was like furiously like cleaning my house, and I literally didn't figure out that it wasn't Wednesday until about 11:30 when I texted her to find out when she was coming over, and realized that it was going to be Tuesday. Embarrassing.
I hate when that happens.
I don't even know why. It's just
I
so
have
funny.
woken up on Saturday morning thinking I was late for work before.
Well, see, I have done that too, yeah. All right, so this is pretty much dry right here, so I'm not really too worried. I'm going to grab a little bit of this white and a little tiny bit of the blue, and I'm just going to carefully go over this edge right here. These are blending really nicely. I'm very much liking this canvas. It's making it very nice and easy to get this soft blended look because it's so smooth. Okay, grab a little bit more of that yellow. Go a little bit brighter, but it's fairly soft, so I don't want to go too bright with it. There we go. Pull that down and go a little bit farther down than I need to with it. So a little bit, just like the blue, you know, kind of went a little bit farther than I needed to so that they would overlap just a little bit. So I'm doing that with this yellow. I'm going to bring it down into here just a little bit farther than it needs to go. And then I'm going to grab some of my Quinacridone Magenta and make kind of a transition color. A little bit more white. This will mix with that yellow. I'm going to go just below it and work my way up over the top just a little bit. That's what will create that soft blended edge. If I try to attack the blend right in the middle of where I want it to be blended, it'll be really hard to get it to look soft. So when I'm kind of sneak attacking it and bringing it up from the bottom slowly. Just be patient with it, take your time adding that little extra color.
Have you had problems in the past with this? Do we need to talk or something? Or?
No, I'm just saying, we just,
Did you tippy toe?
I did.
Okay.
I snuck up on it. So I'm making a little bit darker. I just cut the intensity with a little tiny bit of black. And then I added just a tiny bit of yellow into this Quinacridone Magenta as well. I thought Spencer was on cat duty. I can hear her knocking at the door over there.
He's supposed to be babysitting.
Yeah, I know.
We're going to deduct his pay.
Okay, so got a little bit of a heavy color going on here. So what I'm going to do is wipe my brush off, get a little bit of water, and use that kind of just slightly damp brush to work that edge off. I haven't added any more color. I'm just pulling the color that's already there out and softening those edges. See how that works?
So it sounds like you're like really pushing down on that brush.
No, not really. Not really. Well, right here I am, but right in this area I wasn't pushing down very hard at all. I'm going to grab a little bit of white. I want to bring this up right here. There's kind of a area right here where they're standing that's a little bit lighter, so I'm going to lighten that area up right there. Grab a little bit of that blue. If I can grab some of that. My blue gray is already dry. Nope, I grabbed it a little bit. Yay. So grabbing some of the blue gray that was over here, I'm just going to try to pull that in. There we go. Pull that across. And obviously you could, I've got a ballerina silhouette tutorial where the background is, all these different colors, but they're very like kind of choppy brush strokes. So if you want to do it that way, it's a little bit easier than doing this soft blended look. So either way is great. Just whatever, if this like intimidates you and you're like, I could never do that, then, try doing it with like a Filbert or something like that and go a little bit thicker with your paint. You can still do this kind of blended thing, but leave your brush stroke showing and just let it be kind of chunky, kind of impressionistic style background. And that's a little bit easier than this kind of soft and blendy look, and a little bit more approachable maybe. But I did want to kind of show how to do this since I haven't done one like this in a while. Okay, so putting that color down there. Clean out my brush a little bit. Wipe it down, slightly damp. I'm just going to work that edge out. Wipe my brush off. Work that edge out. You got to do this while that paint is still wet, or if once it's dried, it's set. You can't really do this. So you got to kind of work quickly once you put that color down. Oops, I put my paint in. There we go.
Okay, I'm going to confess here.
Yeah, that once this is drying, you can't, like over here, it's starting to kind of try to lift, so I don't want to mess with that right now. What were you going to say, hon?
I'm going to confess here in front of the world.
What?
I may have just seen my Valentine's present.
Where?
We had a delivery.
Uh-oh.
And I got the box.
Honey. Great.
I'm just saying. Since you already know what you got you already got what you got.
I already bought my own present for Valentine's Day.
And all I'm going to say is that I'm happy. I'll give you a big hug here in a second.
Okay. All right, gonna make some more of this darker color down here. You can see how intense that color is before we add white to it. So I'm going to wipe most of that off and grab a little bit of clean white, bring it over here, and just use what's in my brush. And just that amount is actually pretty good. There, maybe a little bit more. And I think I'm going to add just a little bit of that pink. There we go. So that was black plus the Phthalo blue, and then just a little bit of that Quinacridone Magenta. Now this should be dry up here, so we can now add this color. I'm going to add some water to my brush. If you want to, you could add glazing liquid. If you like working with that, I'm going to take most of that color off. I'm going to lightly dust it over this upper area here. Just in that corner. Clean most of that out. And if you've got a mop brush that you like to use, you could use a mop brush for this. Like I see a lot of artists doing that. I don't generally use them because I'm kind of just lazy and I want to use whatever brush I've got going on, but that's another way of doing it. Grab a little bit of white and just come back in with the white to soften up that transition between the lighter blue and the darker blue. Okay, and then I've got kind of a hard edge right here. So, clean that brush out. And just grab some of my white with a tiny bit of the yellow, which was that color, right? Wipe most of it off. And I'm going to start on the outside in the yellow area, and I'm going to feather it in on top and then just kind of gently go back and forth here. And soften that transition between the colors. Okay, grab a little bit more of this color. Coming back over the top again. And now that this is wet on this side, it's going to blend even really nicely right there. Even more nicely.
Nicelier. Nicelier. I'm trying to get the correct tense there. Sorry. More nicer.
Nicer-ish.
Oh, I forgot the ish.
Okay, so I'm pretty happy with that. My brush was separating on me there for a second there. I don't know why, but try to go back and forth with just a, there we go, soft wet brush there. Damp, not super wet. Trying to smooth out any brush strokes there. Okay, let's work on this area here. So I'm going to grab some of that yellow again and just kind of do the same over the top of this area here. Just kind of smooth out that transition between those colors. And I think that I'm pretty happy with that. So I'm going to stop while I'm ahead and let Mark have that to dry. Yeah. So it takes a little bit of finesse, but it's not terribly difficult. It's just And if you find that it's really hard, like I said, you can just, do it a little bit more impressionist style and just kind of let your brush strokes show. And that's great too. I think that would look really good with this project. So don't feel like you have to do it exactly like I'm doing on mine. But I thought, I would show you how I approach doing that kind of a blended look. All right, so we've got our little stick man here, stick girl maybe. And I figure we can just, since she's got a black dress already, we'll just add these little flyaway things to her, like that are kind of doing on our dancing girl here. This is Mark's creation. We kind of just play with it and add something that kind of pertains to whatever we are working on that day. So since we're doing our little dancing silhouette girl, I'm not going to give her a partner. That's way too much work. But we can give her a little train on her dress there, blowing in the wind. I thought about giving her a bun, but I wasn't sure if I could pull it off without it looking like a weird growth on the side of her head. So we gave her a little blowing dress.
Him. Not her.
Oh, it's a her.
It's
He's got a dress on, honey.
Well,
and a flower for the face.
Somebody mentioned it was like Klinger.
Klingon? Klinger? Oh, yeah,
mask.
Klinger, yeah. Yeah, okay. Well, that could be. That could be. All right, so here's our silhouette. Traceable that I made. You can print off any silhouette that you wanted. So if you wanted a different type of silhouette, you could totally print that off. And then just use tracing paper to trace it on. And I'm going to kind of place it. Using tracing paper works better than just using paper. If you're using paper, it tends to be more difficult to, place it. Now this kind of, since it's a square, you could probably get it fairly close. And you could still trace right on top of the drawing instead of using tracing paper if you wanted to. But the tracing paper just makes it easier to see where you're exactly placing this and makes it a little bit easier just in general. So I don't want to be so close to the edge, so I'm going to pull it this way just a little bit. So I have about an equal distance from the edge on all sides. That's good. So a little bit off center. Yeah, that looks good. Okay. So you could do it a couple of different ways. You can tape it. I generally just use my hand to hold it down, but it does take a little bit. You just have to remember never to let up the pressure on this hand. And it can be kind of easy to forget that if you are new to doing this. You want to flip this down and very gently, try not to press down too hard when you're sliding this in, because you don't want the transfer material to rub against your canvas. So then I just kind of gently smooth it down, and I'm going to get really close to wherever I want to start my tracing, and I'm going to use a trace. This is just a stylus tool. These are like, I don't know, $3 for like 6 of them. They're nail tools. They have art ones that are a lot more expensive, but they're the exact same thing and they're not as pretty. So I would say go with the pretty ones. I'm all for that. And I also have a link down in the description or in the Amazon store. I have these in my Amazon store in the acrylic painting supplies section. I'm not sure if they're this exact one, but something similar. And if you don't have one of these, or don't want to use a special tool for it, I would not use pencil, because pencil it'll mark up your drawing, and so if you use it again, you're going to have double the lines. It's going to be harder to see where to do it, and 2, it can punch through your paper pretty easily. So you could use if you don't have one of these, you could use a ballpoint pen that has run out of ink, and that way it'll roll smoothly. It'll be nice and firm. You just need a firm hand with this, and I'm going to press down nice and hard. And if you want to, when you first start it, you can check to make sure you've got it, going in the right direction. Because I've done that wrong before, and I've put the wrong side up and ended up doing the whole traceable and not have anything on my canvas at all. So just check that before you kind of get too far. And I'm going to do the main lines of my drawing here. And I go just inside the line. So I'm not going right to the outside edge. I'm going just inside that line. And that way, when I paint it in, I'll have just a little bit of a margin. If you go right to the line, what can happen is you can end up with a thicker outline than you want. Especially on features like faces and things, that makes a big difference. Something like a dress, it's not going to be that much big of a difference if you have like a millimeter extra or, half a millimeter extra or whatever on your outline, but facial features, it can make a big difference. So I would just say kind of watch that and go just inside the line with your outline. And this is coming off nice and dark, so I'm not actually pressing quite as hard as I was there at the first. Since I saw it was coming off nice and dark, I don't want to have to worry about not being able to cover it, especially in this area where it was really soft and blendy.
Okay, so while you're tracing that, I'd like to know what kind of witchcraft did you use so that when you put the yellow and the blue together, it didn't make green?
Well, I added a lot of white to the yellow and to the blue, and I didn't blend. Well, I kind of mentioned that when I was doing it.
Oh, so they weren't paying attention.
A little bit. I think I did. At least I meant to. If I didn't, but hold on. Let me get this. Let me think about this real quick. Okay, I want to do this line here. I wasn't sure if I did any of this.
Okay, so it's no rope incident, but I'm keeping an eye on them.
On what?
On the people asking the question to see if they were actually paying attention. I mean, sorry. I have that job cornered.
What job?
I'm the guy that doesn't pay attention. Because there's a pretty good chance I won't be painting these. So I have an exemption.
Right. Okay, so you can see how I ended up with a bunch of marks on my drawing, which is normal, even though I was careful not to press down too hard. So bleach wipes are your answer to that. You can use an eraser too, but erasers can kind of leave behind marks. So your disinfectant wipes can, bleach wipes will lift off of that graphite with very little effort. Especially with this soft blendy background, we don't want that kind of. And I have to be careful because this paint is still not completely cured. So it can lift off my paint too.
Man,
if I press down too hard, which it is kind of a little bit.
You have got the mom technique down.
What?
Kind of, the moms, they kind of put the tissue on their finger like that, put a little mom spit on it.
Right.
Wipes, clean everything off in the
Exactly.
world. You got that technique down.
Yep. I've been around the block a few times. I've done this a few times.
You've cleaned a few faces.
I have. Okay, there we go. Very, very gently, just tabbing. It really comes right off. You don't have to press very hard with this, as opposed to eraser or whatever else you might try. So, okay, I'm going to call that good enough and hope that my my yellow didn't get all lifted off there. I think it's okay. All right, and then I usually just use a wet paper towel with some water, and that water's dirty, so I'm just going to use clean water here and just dab over to lift off any bleach that I don't want the bleach residue on my canvas. I don't know if it interacts with it, but I just don't want it on there. So,
I mean, this isn't a chemistry channel after all.
Okay.
Or math.
True, they don't come here for math, that's for sure.
or chemistry
No.
or biology. We just throw facts out there we're not sure of. The chemical compound interaction.
Yeah. I'm sure it's probably fine. It just... Okay, so I'm going to grab my number 2 round here. I'm going to use this carbon black that is fluid carbon black. It'll be a little bit easier to put on our canvas here. Go on more smoothly. Yeah, I'm just going to start filling in my girl. And this will be the kind of boring part. This is the part where you're just going to be kind of generally filling in the lines.
We have a cleaning question.
Okay.
Have you tried baby wipes?
Baby wipes don't work for that. No. They don't touch it. They don't, for some reason, I don't know. I don't think they have the right chemical in them or whatever, but they don't work. At least for me, I haven't found them to be effective.
So it's a good thing because you don't want to be putting bleach on your baby while you're cleaning it.
Exactly.
Just saying.
I mean, I can try it. Really.
No. Don't put bleach on the baby.
These are kind of dried out. A little water, but yeah, they don't take it off. They just kind of smush it around. So. I need to get some more because they're getting dry. Okay, I'm not going to try to do her face features with this brush because this is a little bit too big. So I'm going to leave that for a minute. I'll come back to it.
I posted in the Angeloni group that this may or may not be from our one and only dance lesson.
I did notice that they're not really leaving any room for Jesus. That's all I'm saying.
Oh.
They might have gotten in trouble in high school for dancing this close.
That's true.
Just saying. He's holding her pretty tight.
Well, obviously they're married.
Right, exactly. We did try to take dancing lessons one time. It was like a 3-hour lesson. And about an hour into it, we were both like, oh my God, when is this going to end?
Okay, first of all, let's set
We
the
were
scene.
so tired.
It was a dance lesson in a relatively small town in Arkansas. Nothing against the instructor. I'm sure she was doing her best. But we, our bar wasn't set too high to begin with. And then you had me as a partner, which lowered it even more.
Oh, that definitely took off that color. Oh, darn it.
And at the end, we were basically back to the high school back and forth shuffle.
I think we forgot everything that we learned about 2 seconds after we left the building.
I do remember we tried to dance at home afterwards.
Yeah, we
a few
did.
weeks later.
Right. And neither one of us could remember the steps.
Exactly.
And I think this was, well, no, the internet was there. I think I remember trying to pull it up on our phone, on our computer or something, but it wasn't for us. We were pretty hopeless. Neither one of us has natural dancing rhythm, so at least one of us needed to have some natural ability for it to make it. Okay, so both of their faces are not finished, so don't judge yet on that.
Okay, back to the tracing. Somebody asked, have you ever used Saral paper? Saral? I've never heard of it before myself. So.
Yeah, that's I have some. I think, is that sterile paper down there in under that thing right there? I think that's what that means, what that is.
So we're going to try this again, huh? You didn't learn your lesson from me looking for a painting?
Yeah, okay.
So what am I looking for?
Right there underneath that red box, underneath that glass thing.
Oh. The red box. Holy moly, girl.
Does it say sterile paper on it?
This is Logan wrap. It's waxed paper.
Right.
So no.
Oh, okay. Well, but it would work, I think. I think that's what she's talking about.
No, I think the sterile paper was actually
like saran wrap?
Like the graphite paper.
Oh, I don't know. It may be just a brand. I would not use copy paper. So if it's saying copy paper, I would not use that because usually that's very waxy. It's a different kind of thing. But I would look for transfer or graphite paper. That's what you want to look for. Well, I thought she said for tracing, not for transferring.
Oh, right. But I think it was the actual, like instead of that carbon paper or whatever you had, it was something else.
Okay.
I'll Google it.
Thanks. I know I've heard of it. I'm not exactly sure where, though.
Sorry, I'm being distracted by the pictures of Liam on my phone.
Oh, Mark.
Shameless grandpa.
Mark has grandpa fever.
Oh, yeah. Saral transfer paper.
If it says transfer paper, then it's probably fine.
It's on Amazon.
I think the kind that I'm using is Deco Art.
You can get it as Stuff Mart. Yeah, it looks like it's that graphite kind of stuff.
Yeah, that'll
so
work.
just don't wrap up your meats in it. Don't confuse it with saran wrap. Kind of spelled the same. And what size brush are you using right now?
I am using the number 2 round right now. Okay, so I'm getting to where over here I want a softer color, and on his leg too. So what I'm going to do is start adding in just a little bit of my Zinc White, a little bit of the blue. And back in here, maybe just regular titanium white. I just need it just a little bit lighter right in there. There we go. So the inside of the thigh area right there is a little bit lighter. A bit more blue, a little bit more unbleached, or titanium white. I still have the black in my brush, but it's just, there we go. It's going to have the littlest blue hint there. And get more of that black. And some more of that blue. So that leg is just going to have just a little bit of color. It's not going to be solid black. And get the dark black for his shoe.
Okay, I was looking at the painting in the monitor. I was like, man, that dude's face is kind of interesting. And then when I looked at it actually in the YouTube, I was like, okay, there's still a section she hasn't finished.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I'm just waiting to go back in with a smaller brush for those parts. All right, grabbing more of that Zinc White. I still have that blue on my brush. And I'm going to put a little bit right here. And just a few little folds on the back of his sleeve. Really small indications of light hitting it. Doesn't have to be very noticeable. Just the slightest little change of color is all we need. Okay, and then I want to use my black for the rest of his leg, foot. And grab a little bit more of that white and just put a little bit on the top of the shoe. Right there. And a little bit of darker shadow on the pant leg. A couple places right there. And there's a little bit of lighter blue right on his face. There. Yeah, I only have half of his nose done, so that's why it looks funky. All right, so let me grab the smaller brush here, and we'll finish their face. You could use a pen for this if you are concerned about this is pretty small. I think it's because the canvas is so small. It's making it. There we go. She does kind of have a little bit of a long nose there. Here we go. So now I'm going to switch to the angle brush. This is the 1/4 inch angle. I'm going to use this on the dress. And I'm going to do my black. Oh yeah, I forgot to mention I was going to use a little bit of glazing liquid maybe, but I think I'll just use water for this. I think it'll work okay. So I have it a little bit watered down here. I'm going to grab a little bit of my blue, a little tiny bit of that Zinc White, lighten the color a little bit. It's still got a lot of black in it. I just want a smooth transition between that black and the lighter blue area. So we can go back in with the darker black here, add some streaks through this. Make it look like folds in the dress. Use a little bit of the white and blue just like we did on the guy's pants there, and I'm just going to pull up. Through. There we go. Okay, so back here I'm going to use the Quinacridone Magenta and blue, a little bit of white. I've got a little bit of black still in my brush too. I'm going to use this for the back of her dress right here. Right there. And in here there's a little bit more of the brighter blue. Use the white. There we go.
So, we did say hi earlier.
Yes.
And just welcome to all the new people. Several new people in chat.
Oh, good.
And so, great to have everybody here with us. And if you're brand new to the channel, I hope you subscribe.
All right, so I'm adding water here. I'm going to use a little bit of this blue in my area back here. I want it to be very thinned out. I don't want it to be too dark here at first, so I'm going to add a lot of water. There you go. And then down in here, I'm going to use the black. I am going to use glazing liquid because I think it'll make it easier to get these transparent effects. So I've got my black and I've got glazing liquid. I'm going to use it on this outside edge here, and I'm just going to follow my line with this watered down paint.
Just a friendly reminder, Oak Island's on tonight.
Okay. Oh. Go faster here. I'm not even an hour yet.
I'm just saying, you know, just didn't say anything about the speed of painting or anything. Just
Okay. Going over the top here with that glaze of black and pulling in that direction of the dress's kind of flow so that if any of this dark border shows that it, makes it look like I meant to have that. So I'm going to kind of put a little bit of the dark color down and then kind of pull up with it. There. Okay, grab a little bit more of that dark. That's my glazing liquid. And I'm going to come over the top here, add some stripes through our dress on top of that blue. And one long one that goes down here, like that. And then there is a one that kind of follows that blue that I already put down. There. Okay. Go a little bit darker right here. I'm going to leave that, and we might add some more to it here in a minute, but for now I'm happy with that. I'm going to grab some more of that glazing liquid and some of that black. And let's start out here. Grab the glazing liquid and pull down so that wherever you want it to be lighter, it's more glazing liquid, and the darker areas stay darker. Just try to work quickly and go in that direction that dress is flowing so that any of these like little lines and things look like they're kind of part of the flow of the dress. Doesn't have to be exactly like the drawing or the example, as long as we kind of have that same sort of feeling. Of flowy fabric. The translucency is the key. Just having a little bit of translucent color in there. Let's grab a little bit of blue. There's some blue down in here. Grab more of the glazing liquid and just use what's on my brush to kind of blend through. Pull those lines through that color so that they look all kind of flowy. And the angle brush is nice because you can get into these little tight corners. And use the tip of it to kind of draw your lines if needed.
So do you want me to post a silhouette picture of myself for everybody to use as a reference?
Mm-hmm.
No? Okay.
So weird.
Well, I made one for the eclipse a couple years ago.
I don't know what you're talking about.
A silhouette picture.
I don't remember.
Never mind. I know you don't follow me on Facebook. It's okay.
Okay,
I know you're in the zone.
thanks. I'm going to use Zinc White here to kind of make it a little bit softer gray so it's not so dark with that transparent color, black.
So somebody asked if they don't have glazing liquid, would a retarder work the same? Or would you recommend just water?
I would just probably use water. I mean, what retard? I don't know. I don't know how much retarder will. The key is just making it transparent. So if the retarder helps with that, then yeah. But I think the retarder is mostly. You can't add very much of it into your paint before it starts to change the property of your paint too much. So you need to be careful of that. Like with retarder, I think most of them you're only supposed to use like 30% to your paint or something. So if you're going to do that, I would just make sure that you're not using too much. Okay. I'm just going back in here and adding some darker shadows. There's these dark places where this is folding over on itself. Now this is kind of getting dry enough over here somewhat to go back in and kind of emphasize some of the darker areas that we want more shadow.
Okay.
Use some of the Zinc White with the Cadmium Yellow here to kind of go over some of this area here that seems a little too dark. What?
I hadn't been really paying attention, so they asked, could you mix the black with the Zinc White? But I think you already are.
I already did, yeah.
You answered the question before it was asked. You are that good.
So adding little bits of yellow here to kind of bring out some highlights in that dress, that flowy part. And adding a little bit of it down here. Just a little. Cleaning that out. I'll grab some more of that Zinc White. And black. Create that soft gray. Even more Zinc White here. Create some soft highlights on some of these areas of the dress that are highlighted back here. Pretty happy with the back of that dress there, so I'm going to leave that. I'm going to grab the black to add her heel right there. A little bit of this yellow, and a little bit of the Quinacridone Magenta to create kind of this color over here. Let me add it right here. And there's a little bit of this kind of glow color. Zinc White with these yellow and a little bit of the Quinacridone back here on her dress and on his lapel right here. And you really need to let this set. It's taking a while for that to dry. And use a little bit of the Quinacridone, my glazing liquid. Add a little bit of the Quinacridone glow to the dress down here. And grab a little bit of the black just on the tip. And just a little shadow. I can use that glazing liquid to kind of help to cut it the color if it's too dark. There we go. So glazing liquid with the black. And I'm just going to kind of go through here and reinforce some of these dark areas if they need it. All right, I'm pretty happy with that. All right, so now I'm going to use this brush, and you might need a bigger brush. We'll see how this one does. I'm going to add, oh, don't want that white on there. So I want the black and glazing liquid, lots of glazing liquid. So we don't want it. Just going to be glazing this shadow, so we're going to be going right up underneath the dress and his shoe and pulling our shadows this way. Very little paint on my brush, so just going to be dusting that color on there, and then there's a little bit around this foot here. There we go. And I'm going to use the blue that was down here and just do one more layer of that darker blue as well. wipe my brush off, so I'm going to brush off that edge there. So I get a kind of a soft blended edge around his foot. You can go right over the top of the foot and then just paint it back in if you need to. We probably should have done that before we put the shoe in, but that works. Okay, and then I want to blend this out just a little bit more on this side. So grab mostly glazing liquid, a little bit of that pink, and just grab the quinacridone, a little bit of white, mix it with that gray. So it's going to mix in those color that's above here, which is that quinacridone with a little bit of black in it. Trying to get a color that's similar to that color above there. Just blend those together. There we go. This is mostly dry, so I'm going to use the Zinc White. I feel like it got a little bit too dark too quick. So I'm going to add just a little bit of the Zinc White in a few places to soften up our highlights. I'm just adding a little bit of highlights to our dress train there. There is a line that goes through. Grab a little bit of black. This line kind of goes through right to there. So I just want to make sure that that is visible right there. That looks good. I think it's working. So I'm going over, kind of figuring out where this one is going, and I'm going to do a line through so it looks like you can see it through this one. If you see what I'm saying there. This one goes all the way to this here. I'm just making sure I have the lines kind of flowing through in the right places. Now that I've got my color down, I can kind of play with it a little bit. Adding little hints of movement here and there. All right, I'm going to call that good. What do you think? Good enough?
It looks good to me.
All right, I'm going to sign it. have super chat. All right. Cool.
Yeah, I was pressing the wrong button on the remote.
Oh,
It's
okay.
like, why is it not working? So we had one super chat
Awesome.
from a faithful fan, Susan.
Oh.
And she says, the lighting effects on the figures are amazing. You guys had me in stitches a few times. As always, thank you, team.
Oh.
Thank you, Susan, so
Susan.
much.
I'm trying to get a color close to this background here. I'm just going to touch up that spot by his head there that I wiped off. That looks good. Okay. Very good. Well, hope you enjoyed it. Hope you try it. It's a little bit on the more advanced-ish side, even though it's a silhouette painting. The background, I think, is the trickiest part. This part takes a little bit of doing. You could simplify it and just do a solid black if you wanted to, if you don't want to have to worry about doing this kind of transparent effect. But yeah, I think it was kind of fun. Hope you try it.
And what if they don't want to draw it?
And I will have the traceable available at patreon.com/theangelafineart. If you don't want to draw it, it'll be available there, and you can download it and transfer it on just like I did on mine. All right, guys. Thanks so much for watching with us. We'll be back on Saturday with another video. We'll have the window box painting. I think it'll be fun. So hope you join us for that. And we'll be back next Tuesday again, too. So come back for that. Will be our second one. We'll be doing a little iris vase. So
The second in the series.
yeah, second in our Flower of the Month series. So that'll be
Nice.
fun. All right, guys. Thanks so much for watching today. Have a happy Valentine's Day. And we'll see you next time. Bye.